Sometimes you got to take a few risks and do something different, you know, not just what you think is expected. All paintings are really about paint. Like the Impressionists started with the idea that, you know, it's not about flowers or dancers or cathedrals, it's about texture and color and paint and depth and light. And I think that's where I am in terms of abstract painting. I don't need it to be anything other than that. I don't have to overdo it, you know, define everything. It'll look right or it'll look wrong at some point. You know, I'm painting out things but always leaving something, which creates a depth. Whether it's through the ice or whether the snow is melting or, you know, glacial structures, but they're layered and they have depth to them. You see one thing through another, through another. You can work in your studio and then, but a lot of the time the processing of it comes from just being alone and thinking. And I've been walking alone with my dog since I was a kid. I walk on a bike trail between Diamond and O'Malley. When you're alone or you're just with your dog, you start really looking at things that, you know, driving by you would never notice. You know, there's all these things going on. There's bones, little tufts of hair from some battle during the night. There's just a whole world, you know. There's people who dump their refrigerators and stoves along the bike trail. You know, this is a moose killed by a bear, just licked clean. Probably a young calf, you know, didn't get to live very long. You know, there's a beauty to nature and then there's a real dark side to it. These kinds of disclosures in the spring, they stay with you. This is an antique tool chest, and I like the reflections of the light, get these little glints of fresh snow. It was described by someone as a haiku, which I really appreciated. This is snow on the water. This was an old bottom of a jewelry case from our gallery. The grain, to me, you know, has this feel of water and reflections on the water, and this real ephemeral nature of snow that's not going to last there very long or be carried off. My art is a conglomeration of stuff. One idea leads to another, leads to another. And I've been criticized for not having a theme, you know, not finding a medium, but I can't let it bother me. I just want to do something that I think is good. It's the adventure that's important to me. I was born during World War II. My parents didn't know anything about art. My father was a factory worker, and he would call me to ask me the scores of games, and I had no interest in it, but I started listening to the radio and with the anticipation that I could give him good news, you know, that he's calling from work and I could say they're winning 2-1 or whatever it was. And so the inevitable consequence of that is that, you know, I became the fan that he was. I had this kind of quirky idea to make a baseball and to make it as close to a major league ball as I possibly could, knowing that I would fall short, but the fun was in the quest. I wanted it to be used, so we knocked it around a lot. Probably made 100 of them. I got a 2-year teaching certificate and started teaching when I was 20 years old, in 1964. One thing that's always struck me is that the community of artists is unaware of the quality of work that comes out of from the students. You know, and it would be of such a value to students to, you know, to have more positive feedback that way, to have people say, you know, that's really good, keep going. Yeah, there's a lot to think about. And, you know, maybe I'll like this in an hour or tomorrow or the next day, or maybe I'll just paint over the whole thing. We'll see what happens.